Oh my God. She's pregnant. Someone whispered behind me as the screen froze on a photo where my husband's arm was around her like it belonged there. The DJ's mic was still live. So the whisper didn't stay a whisper. It jumped out of the speakers with a little squeal of feedback, then settled into the room like smoke. For half a second, nobody moved. Not the guests. Not the DJ. Not even the little kids who had been running between tables all night. The projector fan hummed. The photo stayed up. My husband Evan was in it. Clear as day. Same tux. Same cufflinks I had helped him pick. His hand was low on her waist, like he knew exactly where it went. The woman's face was turned toward him, smiling into his neck. And her other hand, her left hand, was holding her stomach in a way that made the whisper make sense. Evan reacted before I did. He was already moving. He shoved his chair back so hard it scraped across the floor. His napkin hit the ground. He didn't look at me. He looked past me, straight at the AV table. "Turn it off," he said, sharp and quiet. "Right now." He started toward the DJ booth. I could feel everyone's heads swivel at once. Our parents were at the sweetheart table, just a few feet away. My mom's fork was halfway to her mouth and she never finished the bite. My dad's hand stopped on his water glass like the glass had suddenly turned hot. My maid of honor, Tessa, leaned in so close her hair brushed my cheek. "What is that?" she breathed. The screen changed, not to our engagement photos, not to the slide that said, "Welcome," in gold script. It flickered like the phone was trying to catch up, then it landed on another image from the same album. This one was a mirror selfie. A hotel bathroom, white tile, a sink with one of those little folded hand towels. Evan's arm was visible, the sleeve of his dress shirt rolled up. The woman was pressed against him, and there was a key card on the counter behind them. Evan broke into a jog. The wedding coordinator, Marlene, stepped into his path on instinct, one hand lifted like she could stop a grown man with a palm. "Sir," she said, strained. "Please." Evan didn't stop. He just angled around her. The DJ finally found his voice. Hey, hold on," he said into the mic, like it was a normal equipment glitch. "We're having a little—" Evan slammed his hand down on the table where my phone cable ran into the mixer. The speakers popped. The mic went dead. But the screen stayed bright. Because my phone was still connected. Because the projector was still mirroring. Because I had plugged my phone in 10 minutes earlier when the DJ asked if I could just connect real quick so he could run our slideshow after the speeches. I had been proud, actually. Proud that I had organized the photos. Proud I had labeled the folder Wedding Slideshow and tested it in our living room the week before. I had handed my phone over like it was nothing. Now the phone sat on the AV table like a dropped plate. Evan grabbed at the cable. Marlene caught his wrist, not hard, but firm enough to make him look at her. "Stop," she said low. "There are people watching." His eyes were wild in a way I had never seen. Not angry, not charming, not even guilty, exactly. Panicked. Like a person who sees a door closing and realizes he left something important on the wrong side of it. I stood up so fast my chair nearly tipped. The room didn't get louder. It got quieter. The kind of quiet that makes you hear details you shouldn't. The clink of a spoon against a plate. A single cough. The soft buzz of someone's phone vibrating on a table. I walked toward the AV table without looking away from the screen. The photo had changed again. A restaurant booth. Dark leather. Candlelight. 2 wine glasses except one looked like a mocktail, the kind with fruit on the rim. Evan's hand was visible again, the same watch I gave him for his birthday. Across the booth, the woman's nails were painted pale pink, her fingers curled around his. Tessa moved with me. She stayed half a step behind like she was ready to catch me if my knees went out. My sister, Lena, was on the edge of the dance floor with her mouth slightly open. She looked like she had just realized the floor was ice. One of Evan's groomsmen, Nate, took a step forward, then stopped. He glanced at Evan's parents like he was waiting for them to fix it. Evan's mother didn't move. She just sat there, hands folded tight in her lap, staring at the screen like she could will it into a different story. Evan's father pushed his chair back slowly, like he was trying not to make noise. Evan saw me approaching and his face changed. He tried to soften it, to put on the version of himself that could talk his way out of a speeding ticket. "Babe," he said, and even the word sounded wrong, thin and rushed. This isn't what you think." I didn't answer. I reached for my phone. Evan's hand shot out at the same time. His fingers grazed mine. Tessa made a small sound, more breath than voice, and wedged herself between us just enough to break the contact. "Don't," she said to him. Not loud, Not dramatic, just one word. Evan's jaw tightened. Marlene, the coordinator, glanced from my face to Evan's and made a decision. She stepped toward the DJ, pointing at the laptop. "Cut the feed," she said. "Now." The DJ fumbled for controls like he was suddenly wearing gloves. He clicked. He dragged windows. The screen flashed between a grid of thumbnails and a single image, and then back again. For a second, a folder name popped up near the top. Just a couple letters. It wasn't wedding slideshow. It's not right. It wasn't anything I recognized. Then it vanished, swallowed by another image. This one was in a car. Evan in the driver's seat, smiling like the camera had caught him mid-laugh. The woman leaned in from the passenger side, her cheek pressed against his. His ring was on. My ring. There was a tiny smudge on the band from the cake cutting earlier white frosting, barely there. And I saw it because the photo was huge, because the projector was merciless, because my wedding guests were watching my husband's hand like it was evidence in a courtroom. Somebody behind me let out a sound like they had bitten their tongue. Somebody else whispered my name. I finally felt my body remember to breathe. The air tasted like champagne and hot food and something metallic. I looked at Evan. He wasn't looking at the photos anymore. He was looking at the room, at the faces, at the fact that this wasn't a private fight in a kitchen. This was a room full of witnesses. He stepped closer to me, lowering his voice, trying to fold the moment back into something manageable. "Let's go outside," he said. "Please, we can talk. This is a mistake." He reached for my elbow. My skin pulled away before my brain told it to. Tessa's hand came up again, faster this time, blocking him like a gate. "No," she said. "Not to be brave. Not to be performative. Just no." Marlene finally yanked a cable from the projector. The screen went blue. The sudden absence of the images didn't fix anything. It made it worse, because now everyone had space to imagine what they had just seen. The DJ cleared his throat into the dead mic anyway, forgetting it was off. Then he realized and stopped. The silence stretched. It wasn't dramatic. It was awkward. It was heavy. Evan's mother stood up at last, chair legs scraping. She smiled too wide. The kind of smile people use at funerals. "Everyone," she said, loud enough to carry without the mic. "It's fine. It's just a glitch." Her eyes flicked to me like a warning, like an instruction, like I was the one who needed to behave. Evan took another step toward me, slow, careful, like I might spook. His voice dropped even lower. "Don't do this here," he said. And the way he said it told me something. Not that he was sorry. Not that he was confused. That he was afraid of what I might do in front of people. My phone was still in my hand. The screen was dark now, but warm from being used. I could feel the cable end dangling, loose. My thumb hovered over it, like I could plug it back in and force the room to look again. Tessa leaned in, her mouth near my ear. "Selah," she whispered, urgent. "What do you want to do?" Evan's father stared at the blue screen like it might come back on by itself. My dad's eyes were fixed on Evan, not blinking. Somewhere across the room, a guest started to stand, then sat back down, unsure if they were allowed to move. I looked from my phone to Evan's face. He held his hands open, pleading without words. But his eyes kept darting toward the exit. Toward control, toward escape. And behind him, the wedding cake sat untouched for the second slice, the knife still resting on the table like we had paused the night mid-motion. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I just tightened my grip on my phone and took one step toward the AV table again, making Evan flinch like he expected the screen to light up. Because if I chose to reconnect it, the room would see whatever came next. And I still didn't know how much next there was. The coordinator clapped once sharp, decisive. "Everyone, we're going to take a short pause," Marlene said, projecting calm the way professionals do when something is already broken. "Bars still open. Please stay seated." Nobody listened. Chairs scraped. People stood halfway, then hovered like they were waiting for permission to exist again. A few guests pretended to check their phones. Others stared straight at me, then away, then back, as if looking too long might make this worse. Evan reached for me again. I stepped back. It wasn't dramatic, just enough space to make a point. "Selah," he said, and now his voice had cracked into something that sounded rehearsed but urgent. "Please, let's not do this here." "Do what?" I asked. It was the first thing I'd said since the screen went blue. The room leaned in without meaning to. He swallowed. "Talk." And Astari. I looked past him to the DJ wiping his hands on his jeans, to Marlene whispering into her headset, to my parents frozen in a way that told me they were letting me decide how this went. Then I looked back at Evan. "You didn't want to talk," I said. "You wanted to unplug." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "That wasn't—" Tessa's hand slid into mine, warm and steady. "Hey," she said quietly, not to interrupt but to anchor me. "Your purse. It's really $7." She picked it up from under the table and pressed the strap into my palm like a lifeline. Across the room, Evan's mother moved fast. She crossed the space between us with a smile that didn't touch her eyes and put a hand on Evan's arm. "Sweetheart," she said to him. Then, to me, "Selah, honey, this is not the time. People are already talking." "I know," I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded even. "That's the problem." Her smile flickered. Evan leaned close, dropping his voice again. "It's old. It's nothing. I can explain all of it. Just let's step outside." I glanced down at my phone. The screen lit up with a vibration I hadn't noticed until now. A message preview, half hidden by the lock screen. "Unknown contact. Did it happen?" I didn't open it. I slid the phone into my purse and looked back at him. "You don't get to decide the timing," I said. "You lost that when you let my wedding guests see your secrets." Actually, one of knowed. That did it. Something hardened in him. Fast. "Okay," he said, straightening. "If you're going to make a scene." My sister Lena laughed. Not loudly. Just one sharp, disbelieving sound from the edge of the dance floor. Evan turned on her. "Stay out of it." She crossed her arms. Hard pass. Marlene reappeared at my side. "Selah," she said gently. "Do you want me to call a car?" I nodded. "Yes." Evan's head snapped back to me. "What?" "I'm leaving," I said. "You can stay." End quote. My dad stood up then. Not fast, not angry, just solid. "I'll go with her," he said. Evan's father opened his mouth, then closed it. He rubbed a hand over his face like he was suddenly very tired. Evan tried one last time. He stepped directly in front of me, blocking my path. "This is a mistake," he said low. "You're going to regret doing this in front of everyone." I met his eyes. "For the record," I said, "the only mistake tonight was trusting you. I am self." The car arrived quicker than I expected. Marlene ushered me through a side exit meant for staff. The air outside was cool and quiet, like the world had decided not to participate anymore. As I slid into the back seat, my phone buzzed again inside my purse. This time, I looked. "Unknown contact. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would come out like that." Below it, another message popped up before I could lock the screen again. "He said you knew." I stared at the words until the driver closed my door. The car pulled away from the venue, from the lights, from the sound of my own reception still humming behind me. And for the first time since the projector turned on, I understood something clearly. This wasn't just about what I'd seen. It was about how many people had known and let me walk down the aisle anyway. I didn't go home. Not right away. My dad had the driver take us to his place instead, the small condo he'd moved into after my mom passed, where nothing had Evan's fingerprints on it. No shared drawers. "No, we should hang this here. Just quiet and clean lines and a couch that smelled faintly like laundry detergent." He put the kettle on without asking. I sat at the kitchen counter and finally let my hands shake. Neither of us spoke until the kettle clicked off. "Do you want tea?" he asked. "Yes," I said, then corrected myself. "No, water's fine." He nodded, poured it anyway, slid the glass toward me, and went to sit across the room like he was giving me space without leaving. My phone buzzed again. I didn't pick it up. It buzzed twice more, then stopped. The silence afterward felt intentional, like someone on the other end had decided to wait. When I finally unlocked the screen, there were 8 notifications. 5 missed calls from Evan, 2 texts from his mother, and 1 more from the unknown number. "Unknown contact. I swear I didn't know you were getting married this weekend." My stomach dropped in a way that had nothing to do with shock anymore. I opened my Photos app. I don't know why that was the first thing I did. Maybe because it was already poisoned. Maybe because I needed to see it without a room full of people breathing around me. The last album viewed was still highlighted. Not wedding slideshow. Something else. A shared album. I tapped it. The screen filled with thumbnails I had never meant to see. Not just the ones from the projector. There were dozens. Restaurants I recognized from Evan's client dinners. A concert ticket stub I remembered him saying he couldn't use because he was too tired. A bathroom mirror I had never stood in. The dates ran back months. I clicked info on one photo. The metadata loaded slowly, like it didn't want to betray him. Location, time, device, and there it was, added by Evan's iPad. I stared at the line until my eyes burned. We had set that iPad up together. He'd complained it was annoying to sign in twice, so I had tapped Allow Sync without thinking. It had felt like trust, like convenience. Now it felt like a door I hadn't known was open. I backed out and checked shared. Another album sat underneath the first. A different name. Initials. The same ones I'd glimpsed at the venue before the screen flickered away. My dad cleared his throat softly. "Selah," he said. "You don't have to." "I know," I said, but I tapped it anyway. This album was smaller, fewer photos, more deliberate. Hotel hallways, late nights. His face relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in months. And then one image stopped me cold. A calendar screenshot. Weekly blocks. Every Friday evening. Labeled gym. The address field was visible at the bottom. Not a gym. An apartment complex. I felt something shift, not break, not collapse, but settle. Like a weight dropping into place. This wasn't chaos. It was routine. My phone buzzed again, right on cue. This time it was my mother-in-law. "Mill, please don't assume the worst. Evan is distraught. Let's talk tomorrow and clear this up." Clear this up. I looked at the calendar screenshot again. At the repetition. At the care it took to keep a pattern that clean. My dad stood and came to the counter, careful not to crowd me. "Do you want me to hold on to your phone?" he asked. "Just for tonight." I shook my head. "No," I said. "I need it." Because now I understood something else. If this had synced to my phone by accident, then it could be deleted just as easily. I went into settings, tapped my name, scrolled to devices. There it was. Evan's iPad last sync, today 7:42 p.m. During the reception, during the speeches, while I was laughing and clinking glasses and thinking my life was stable, my finger hovered. Then I took screenshots. The device list, the album names, the metadata. I emailed them to myself, then again to my dad, then again to an account Evan didn't know existed. Only after that did I breathe. My phone lit up one more time. A voicemail notification. Unknown number. I didn't play it yet. I set the phone face down on the counter, the same way Evan used to, and for the first time all night, I felt something close to control. Morning came without permission. Light slid through the blinds in my dad's living room, cutting the floor into neat rectangles that felt too orderly for what my head was holding. I hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out of shallow pauses where my phone buzzed, stopped, buzzed again. When I finally picked it up, the count made my chest tighten. 12 missed calls. Most from Evan, 3 from his mother. 1 from a number saved as Aunt Carol, a woman I'd spoken to maybe 5 times in 5 years, always at holidays, always politely. And a long text from Evan that I hadn't opened yet. I went to the kitchen, poured coffee I didn't want, and sat at the same counter where I'd left my phone face down the night before. I turned it over. The voicemail icon blinked. Unknown number. I hit play. At first, there was just breathing. Then, a woman's voice tight, shaky, like she was holding herself together with both hands. "Selah," she said. She knew my name. I don't know how else to do this. Evan told me you knew. He said you were okay with it, that you didn't want to be involved. She swallowed audibly. "I didn't know there was a wedding, I swear. I found out last night when my sister sent me a video from someone's Instagram story." The pause after that was worse than crying. "I'm pregnant," she said, quieter. "And I thought you were his ex." The voicemail ended there. No goodbye. No demand. Just the truth landing and stepping back. I stared at the counter until the coffee went cold. My dad came in a few minutes later, already dressed, like he'd been awake for hours too. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, because it was easier than explaining the specific way I wasn't. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Evan's mother calling, not texting. I let it ring twice. Then 3. Then I answered. "Selah," she said immediately, relief flooding her voice. "Thank God. We need to talk. Evan hasn't slept. He's beside himself." I pictured him pacing, rehearsing, deciding which version of the truth would land best. "I'm sure," I said. There was a beat of silence on her end. "You have to understand," she continued, slipping into a tone I recognized from years of watching her manage uncomfortable moments. "This is not how things look. Photos can be misleading. People jump to conclusions." "About pregnancies?" I asked. She inhaled sharply. "We don't know that for sure." I didn't respond. She pushed on. "Evan says it was a misunderstanding. Old photos. A woman who's confused. He's willing to explain everything, but you walking out publicly made things worse." There it was. The pivot. The blame. "You asked me last night not to embarrass him," I said. "I didn't. He did that on his own." "That's not fair," she snapped, then softened immediately. "Honey, please. The family is already talking. People are asking questions. We just need you to post something. A simple message. Say it was a technical issue, and you're taking time privately." I looked at my phone, at the screenshots I'd taken, at the album names, at the synced device list, at the voicemail sitting in my inbox like a witness. "No," I said. Her voice hardened. "Selah, don't be dramatic. That word, it landed heavier than anything else," she'd said. "I'm not being dramatic," I replied. "I'm being accurate." She exhaled, long and thin. "Evan is your husband," she said. The word made my stomach twist. "No," I said. "He isn't." Another pause. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean," I said slowly, "that you're asking me to protect someone who lied to me, lied to another woman, and let me stand in front of a room full of people without the truth. I won't do that." Her voice dropped. "You're going to regret this." I ended the call. The phone felt heavier afterward, like it remembered everything that had passed through it. A text came in almost immediately from Evan. I didn't open it. Then another from Aunt Carol. "Aunt Carol. Sweetheart, please call me. Your mother-in-law is very upset. This is getting out of hand." Out of hand. I stood up, walked to the living room, and picked up my overnight bag. Inside it, folded carefully, was the printed copy of our seating chart, the one I'd obsessed over for weeks. I slid it out and looked at the names. Families mixed, friends blended, carefully managed appearances. I folded it in half and set it on the counter. Then I went back to my phone and did something small, but deliberate. I turned off read receipts. Because whatever came next, I wasn't going to let anyone track how quickly I absorbed the truth. And I wasn't going to help them rewrite it. By noon, the venue started calling. I recognized the number immediately, the coordinator's office line I'd saved during planning because they warned me text messages get lost on event days. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. "Selah," Marlene said, her voice careful, neutral in the way people get when they're standing on paperwork. I wanted to check in and also go over next steps. "Okay," I said. There was a shuffle on her end, papers moving. "As of this morning, there's still a remaining balance from last night," she continued. "Overtime for staff, the extended bar hour, and the AV delay." I closed my eyes. "How much?" I asked. She told me. It wasn't catastrophic, but it wasn't small. "And the account holder?" I asked. Another pause. "The primary contract is under Evan's name," she said. "Your card was listed as backup for incidentals." I pictured his signature at the bottom of the contract. Confident. Easy. Like everything else he signed without telling me the whole story. "Okay," I said. "Email me the invoice." "I already have," she replied gently. "And Selah, there's been some disagreement from his side about responsibility." Of course there had. Disagreement how? "He's requesting that charges be split," she said. "He claims the interruption wasn't his fault." I laughed. It slipped out before I could stop it. Not hysterical, just one short, humorless sound. "Put it in writing," I said. "All of it." "I will," Marlene replied. "And just so you know, this isn't unusual after disrupted events. But the documentation matters." "Yes," I said. "It does." I hung up and forwarded the email to myself again. Then to a folder I'd created an hour earlier called Receipts. The name felt right. My phone buzzed immediately after. "Evan, calling this time." I let it ring out. Then a text came through. "Evan, we need to talk logistics. The honeymoon check-in is today." I stared at the message. The word we felt aggressive now. I opened the airline app. Our booking stared back at me, 2 names, side by side. His seat assignment already selected. his preferences saved. I tapped Manage Booking, paused, then canceled my portion. The confirmation email landed seconds later. I forwarded that too. Another buzz. This time, a fraud alert from my credit card. Did you attempt a $1,248 charge at? I clicked no. Within moments, the card froze. I felt a small, sharp sense of satisfaction I didn't expect. My dad watched quietly from the living room. You sure? He asked, not questioning, just checking. Yes, I said. I'm sure. My phone chimed again. A new email. From Evan. Subject line. This is getting out of hand. I didn't open it. Instead, I went back to photos. I noticed something new. The shared album was still there, but one image failed to load. A gray square with a spinning wheel. Then another. Then 3. He was deleting. Fast. I moved without thinking. Screen recording on. I captured the album list as thumbnails disappeared. Captured the timestamps. Captured the sync banner flickering on and off at the top of the screen. Then, just as suddenly, the album vanished entirely. No error. No warning. Just gone. My phone buzzed. A text from Evan, almost triumphant. Evan, see? There's nothing there. This is spiraling for no reason. I looked at the recording saving itself to my phone. At the timestamp. At the proof that something had existed long enough to be erased, and I realized something important. He wasn't trying to fix the damage. He was trying to outrun it. I named the screen recording before deletion and backed it up twice. Then I set my phone down and exhaled. Because now, whatever he claimed next, I had something stronger than photos. I had his panic. We went to the carrier store after lunch. Not because I wanted to be dramatic, because I wanted timestamps that didn't belong to me. The store smelled like plastic cases and ozone. A line curled past a display of phones playing the same silent demo video on loop. People stared at their screens, sealed inside small problems that hadn't detonated yet. Evan texted twice while we waited. I didn't answer. When it was my turn, the tech mid-20s, name tag crooked, smiled like this was routine. What can I help you with? I need to check account link devices, I said. And shared media sync. He nodded, already typing. ID, please. I slid it across the counter. He glanced from the screen to my face, then back again. Are you the primary account holder? Yes, I said. He clicked a few more times. The keyboard made soft, fast sounds. Okay, he said. I'm seeing your phone, obviously. And... He paused. An iPad. My stomach tightened anyway. Whose? I asked. He tilted the screen slightly toward me. Careful, professional. The name was there. Evans. And, the tech continued, there's a second iCloud signed in recently. Not authorized for full access, but it's been interacting with shared albums. My dad shifted behind me. What does recently mean? I asked. The tech checked the log. Yesterday evening, around 7:40. The same time the projector lit up. He scrolled. There was a shared album. He said slowly, like he was choosing his words. It was removed from your view today. Removed by whom? I asked. He didn't look up. By the device that created it. Silence settled behind us. Someone in line cleared their throat. The tech finally looked at me, eyes flicking to my face, then away again. Do you want me to generate an activity report? He asked. It'll show device IDs, timestamps, and actions taken. Deletions included. And cried, the smarket's I'm. Yes, I said immediately. He nodded. I'll email it to you. While he worked, my phone buzzed. Evan, again. This time, a voicemail. I didn't listen. The tech handed me a receipt and a printed summary, just one page, but dense with lines and codes and dates. Anything else I can do? He asked. I thought about it. Yes, I said. Please remove all other devices from my account. He hesitated. That will sign them out. I know. He nodded once and did it. As we walked back to the car, my phone chimed. A notification banner slid across the screen. Evan, why did you log me out? I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the carrier report to my email, then to a secure folder, then printed it when we got back to my dad's place. The printer hummed. Paper slid out. Proof made weight. I folded the pages neatly and slid them into an envelope. On the front, I wrote one word. Timeline. I set it on the kitchen counter, the same spot where everything else seemed to land now. My phone buzzed again. This time, not Evan. A friend request notification from a name I didn't recognize at first. Then I did. The same initials. I didn't accept it, but I didn't block it either. I just stared at the screen, understanding something new. The story was trying to reach me from multiple directions now, and I was done chasing it. I was collecting it. Sunday lunch had always been Evan's mother's territory, not brunch lunch. Early afternoon, polite clothes, food that stayed warm on the table like it expected people to sit down and behave. It was where disagreements were smoothed over and inconvenient truths were folded into napkins. She texted that morning like nothing had changed. "Mill, come by at 1. We need to talk as a family." No apology, no question, just an assumption. I went anyway, not alone. My sister Lena came with me. My dad stayed back not because he didn't want to come, but because I asked him not to. I needed this to happen without anyone stepping in front of me. The house smelled the same as always: roast chicken, rosemary, something sweet in the oven she would pretend was an afterthought. Evan's car was already there. So was his brother's. And his aunt's. This wasn't a conversation. It was an audience. We walked in together. Lena didn't say anything. She just stayed at my side like gravity. Everyone froze for half a second when they saw me. Then Evan stood up. "Selah," he said, relief flashing across his face like he'd been rehearsing this moment. "Thank you for coming." I didn't hug him. I didn't even nod. I took off my coat and draped it over the back of a chair. The ring caught the light. I saw his eyes flick to it. We sat. Plates were filled. Silverware clinked. Someone made a comment about how quiet it was. I let them talk. For 10 minutes. About the venue refund process. About how social media blows things out of proportion. About how pregnancy rumors start. Evan didn't say much. He kept glancing at me, waiting for me to jump in, to soften something, to save him. Finally, his father cleared his throat. "So," he said, looking directly at me now, "what's actually going on?" I reached into my bag, pulled out the envelope, set it on the table. The word timeline faced up. "I'm not here to argue," I said. My voice sounded steady. "I'm here to correct the record." Evan stiffened. His mother smiled tightly. "Selah, honey." I slid the envelope toward the center of the table. Inside were the printed carrier report pages, device IDs, timestamps, deletion logs. His aunt leaned forward, squinting. "What is this?" she asked. "Activity records," I said. "From my account, from Evan's iPad, and from another device that interacted with shared albums." Evan's brother frowned. "Another device?" Evan spoke then, quickly. "This is unnecessary. You're turning a misunderstanding into—" "Friday nights," I said. The table went still. I looked directly at Evan. "Every Friday," I continued. "You said you were at the gym. You weren't." His mother's fork paused mid-air. I turned one page over so the address was visible. His aunt read it out loud without meaning to. "That's the complex near her." Evan's jaw clenched. "You don't know that." End quote. His father looked at him for the first time like he was seeing a stranger. "You want to keep going?" I asked. Silence answered. I took out my phone. Not to show photos. Not yet. I opened the voicemail transcript. Didn't play it. Just read one line. "He said you knew." I set the phone down. Evan's mother's face drained of color. "What does that mean?" she asked. I didn't answer her. I looked at Evan. "You told her I knew," I said. "You told her I was okay with it. It's not a stated friend." His mouth opened. Nothing came out. His father's voice cut in, sharp and flat. "Is that true?" Evan looked down. That was enough. No shouting. No tears. Just a collapse so quiet it felt heavier than noise. His aunt leaned back, stunned. His brother rubbed his hands together like he needed friction to think. His mother stared at the table, then up at me. "You didn't have to bring this here," she said weakly. "Yes," I said. "I did. Because now the story didn't belong to whispers. It belonged to facts." I stood. I reached up and slid the ring off my finger. The soft sound it made hitting the wood felt louder than the DJ's feedback ever had. I set it next to the envelope. "I'm done," I said. "Please don't contact me again." Evan finally looked up. "Selah." I turned and walked out before he could finish. Lena followed without a word. In the car, my hands finally shook. But my chest felt light, like something heavy had been set down in a room full of witnesses. The first thing Evan did was try to take back access. I knew because my phone told me. A notification slid across the screen as Lena pulled into my driveway. Security alert. Someone attempted to reset your account password. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Of course, Lena said, parking. He's panicking. Inside, the house felt different than it had 2 days earlier. Quieter. Mine again. The overnight bag still sat by the door where I dropped it after Sunday lunch, like a bookmark I hadn't moved yet. I plugged my phone in and sat at the kitchen counter. The same counter. The alerts kept coming. Password reset attempt. Another. Then, a lockout notification. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I opened my email and saw 3 new messages marked urgent. One from Evan. One from his mother. One from an unfamiliar address. The unfamiliar one was subject-lined simply, "We need to talk." I opened it. "Sla, I'm sorry to contact you like this. I didn't know how else to reach you. Evan blocked me this morning. I found out last night that you left the wedding. I saw the video. I didn't know you were still together. He told me you'd separated months ago. He said the wedding was for appearances. I'm 6 weeks along. I'm not asking you for anything. I just needed you to know the truth. I read it twice. Not because I doubted it, because I needed to feel where it landed in my body. It didn't explode. It settled, like confirmation clicking into place. My phone rang. Evan. Again. I didn't answer. Then a text. Evan, you're blowing this up. This didn't have to be public. I stared at the words, then typed back. Me. You made it public when you lied to everyone. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Evan. Please. We can still fix this. Let's talk before lawyers get involved. There it was. The shift. From charm to containment. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my settings and changed my voicemail greeting to 1 sentence. I'm not taking calls right now. Please communicate in writing. Then I blocked his number. The silence afterward was immediate. Not peaceful, but controlled. Lena watched from the doorway. You okay? I will be, I said. And I meant it not as reassurance, but as a plan. That evening, his friend Nate called from a different number. I recognized the area code. I answered. Selah, he said quickly. Listen, I don't want to be in the middle of this, but you should know Evan's talking. He's saying you're unstable, that you overreacted, that you're threatening him. I closed my eyes. Thank you, I said. That's all I needed to hear. Wait, he said. You don't understand. I do, I replied, very clearly. I hung up and immediately wrote it down. Date, time, number. Then I opened my laptop and drafted 1 email. Not emotional, not long, just factual. It went to Evan, his parents, and 1 attorney I'd spoken to earlier that afternoon. Subject, communication boundary. Body, all further communication should be in writing. Any false statements about my mental state or actions will be documented. Please confirm receipt. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop. For the first time since the projector turned on, I felt the fight move off my chest and onto paper where it belonged. That night, I slept. Not deeply, but enough. And when I woke up, my phone was quiet, which told me something important. He had finally realized I wasn't chasing him anymore. I was building around myself. The email confirmations came in 1 by 1. Short, polite, tight. Evan's parents replied first 2 lines. Formal, careful, like they were already thinking about how this would look printed. Evan didn't reply at all. That told me everything. I spent the morning exporting data. Not obsessively. Methodically. I requested my full account history, the kind that arrives in a zip file with folders labeled things like locations and calendar and media metadata. The site warned it could take up to 48 hours. It took 6. The notification landed while I was folding laundry. Your data is ready to download. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and coffee and opened the files like I was opening someone else's life. Because I was. The location history loaded as a timeline, dots on a map, dates on the side. There it was. The pattern. Friday evenings lighting up the same place, week after week. Arrivals within minutes of each other. Departures early morning. I cross-checked with the calendar export. 8. Gym. Always the same block. Always the same hours. I pulled up my bank statements. The restaurant receipts matched. Same booth lighting, same mocktail glass, same gratuity percentages he always tipped. I didn't cry. I matched dates. I made a spreadsheet. Date. Claim. Actual location. Supporting file. By the time I finished, the story wasn't emotional anymore. It was structural. My phone buzzed once while I worked. A text from a number I hadn't saved, but now recognized. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just don't want him rewriting this. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I replied, Me. I don't either. 3 dots appeared, then stopped. No more messages came. That felt right. In the afternoon, I printed the spreadsheet, then the maps, then the calendar screenshots. I slid everything into a single folder and clipped it shut. When I labeled it, I didn't use his name. I used a date range, because that's what this was. A period of time that was over. At sunset, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the transcript appeared. It was Evan's voice. Flat, controlled. Selah, I'm meeting with my parents tonight. I think we should all sit down together. There are misunderstandings here that can be cleared up. Cleared up. I forwarded the voicemail to my attorney without comment. Then I stood, walked to the window, and watched the light drain out of the street. I realized something then quiet, but absolute. The power wasn't in what he would say next. It was in the fact that whatever he said, I could place it next to the timeline. And the timeline didn't argue. It just sat there, waiting. The email arrived at 7:14 a.m. Not from Evan, from a clinic. At first, I thought it was spam, one of those newsletters that sneaks past filters with polite language and soft fonts. Then I saw the subject line. Appointment. Reminder. My name wasn't on it. Hers was. The body of the email was brief, automated, efficient. This is a reminder of your upcoming prenatal appointment. Date, Thursday. Time, 9:30 a.m. Location. At the bottom, in smaller text, was a line that made my hands go cold. You may bring one support person. I didn't open the attachment. I didn't need to. The header was enough. The email address it was sent to mine wasn't a mistake. It had been auto-forwarded. I opened my email rules. There it was. A forwarding rule I hadn't created. Set months ago. Anything from that clinic domain forwarded to my inbox. I sat very still. This wasn't sloppiness. This was preparation. He had built systems for a future that didn't include my consent. I forwarded the email to my attorney. Then I printed the header page only, folded it once, placed it under my coffee mug on the counter, the same counter that had become a kind of staging area for truths. My phone rang 10 minutes later. Evan. From a new number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail anyway. His voice sounded different this time. Lower, careful. Selah, listen. I know things look bad. I know you're upset. But this email, this clinic thing, you're misinterpreting it. It's not what you think. End quote. I let the voicemail end. Then I played it again, this time with the printed email header in front of me. Date. Time. Rule creation timestamp. They didn't line up with his story. Nothing did. An hour later, another voicemail. I never meant for you to find out like this, he said. I was going to tell you. After the wedding. After. The word felt almost academic now. I gathered everything. The spreadsheet. The maps. The carrier report. The email header. The voicemail transcripts. I didn't argue with any of it. I didn't annotate. I just clipped it together and slid it into a clean folder. When I closed it, the sound was soft but final. That afternoon, my attorney called. Do you want to proceed? She asked. Yes, I said. With what? She asked gently. I looked at the folder on the counter. At the truth, I said, in the order it actually happened. There was a pause. Then, okay, she said. We'll schedule. End quote. I hung up and stood there for a moment longer. Then I did one last thing. I turned my phone face down. Not because I was afraid of what might come in, but because, for the first time, it didn't matter. The conference room was smaller than I expected. No grand table. No leather chairs. Just a rectangle of light wood, a pitcher of water sweating onto a stack of coasters, and a muted abstract print on the wall that looked like it had been chosen to offend no one. Evan arrived 5 minutes late. He didn't look at me when he came in. He nodded at the mediator, nodded at the attorney, sat down like this was a meeting he could still manage, like charm might work if he aimed it carefully. I kept my hands folded in my lap. The folder rested on the table in front of me. Closed. The mediator cleared her throat. Thank you all for coming. We're here to clarify facts and determine next steps. Evan leaned forward. I think there's been a lot of confusion, he said smoothly. Emotions were high at the wedding. Things got misread. I didn't interrupt. My attorney didn't either. She waited. That silence stretched just long enough to make Evan feel it. The photos, he continued. They were old, taken out of context, and the email, there's an explanation for that too. The mediator nodded, pen poised. Okay, then let's start with documentation. That was my cue. I slid the folder forward. Not dramatically. Just enough to put it in the center of the table. I opened it. I didn't say a word. First came the carrier report. Device IDs. Sync times. Deletion logs. Evan's eyes flicked down despite himself. Then, the location maps. Friday nights. Same address. Same duration. His jaw tightened. Then the calendar screenshots. Jim. My attorney slid the printed voicemail transcript across last. One sentence highlighted. He said you knew. The room went very still. The mediator leaned forward now, actually reading. Evan exhaled through his nose, a sound like irritation disguised as patience. This is excessive, he said. You're making it look worse than it is. I finally spoke. No, I said. I'm making it look accurate. He turned to me then, really looked at me for the first time since Sunday lunch. Selah, he said quietly. You're ruining my life. I didn't raise my voice. I'm not ruining anything, I replied. I'm refusing to protect it. My attorney placed one more item on the table. The printed email header. Clinic name visible. Appointment date circled. The mediator's pen stopped moving. Evan's face changed. Not panic this time. Calculation failing. You told her you knew, the mediator said carefully. Is that correct? Evan didn't answer. His lawyer shifted in his chair. Evan, his lawyer said under his breath. You need to respond. Evan swallowed. Yes, he said finally. I told her that. The admission landed with a dull, heavy thud. No gasps. No drama. Just consequence. The mediator nodded once and wrote something down. Thank you, she said. That clarifies intent. I reached up then and took the ring from my pocket. I hadn't worn it since Sunday. I set it on the table, directly on top of the folder. It made a soft click against the wood. I'm done, I said. There's nothing left to explain. It's not heaven seven dime. Evan stared at the ring like it was something he didn't recognize. The mediator closed her notebook. Given the information presented, she said, we'll proceed accordingly. Procedural. Irreversible. I stood. So did my attorney. Evan stayed seated. As I walked out, I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished, which was better. I went home alone. Not the dramatic version. No rain, no music swelling, no moment where I collapsed against the door. Just keys. Lock. Quiet. The house smelled faintly like flowers that had been cut too early. The unopened wedding gifts were stacked neatly in the corner, tags still tied, names written in looping ink like they belonged to a different future. I didn't touch them. I walked straight to the kitchen. The counter was clear, for the first time in days. No envelopes, no folders, no printouts anchoring the air. I set my purse down and took out the ring. It felt lighter than it had the first day he slid it onto my finger, like the weight had been memory, not metal. I walked to the small dish by the door, the one I usually drop my keys into without thinking. I held the ring over it for a second longer than necessary. Not to hesitate. To mark it. Then I let it go. It landed with a soft, final clink. I changed the entry code. Not in a rush. Digit by digit. I removed his fingerprint access from the app. Turned off shared locations. Signed out of the last account that still had his name attached to it. Each action was small. Together, they felt like air returning to a room. My phone buzzed once. A notification lighting up the screen. I hadn't turned face down this time. Evan. From another new number. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I set the phone to silent and placed it next to the dish, face down, like a boundary. Then I opened my laptop and wrote one email. Short, neutral, clear. To the venue. To both families. No explanations. No apologies. Just logistics. And a line that read, "Please respect my request for no further contact." I hit send, closed the laptop, and stood there for a moment, listening. The house didn't answer back. It didn't need to. For the first time since the projector turned on, nothing was waiting for me to react. No screen, no audience, no one trying to tell me what this should look like. I picked up my keys from the dish, left the ring where it was, and stepped forward into a life that, finally, wasn't being edited behind my back.